Hello, sir. Hello.
Hi, Harish.
हाँ सर.
Hi, we'll start in just one more minute. Okay, so let us try to finish the problem discussion of both the remaining paper till the last two questions and the practice paper also. In case we run out of time, I can wait for a few more minutes to complete this portion, or if you want, I will also send you the PDF of the practice paper answer key and hints, so you can refer to that. Okay, so let us resume from yesterday's. Okay, so I think this was the last question that we had covered last time. Uh, yeah, okay. So just to quickly revise that problem. So the yeah, this was the problem, right? So I had just mentioned about this relations between the coefficients and the roots of a polynomial, which are called Vieta's relations. And in this case, actually, the Vieta's relations are not that important, but something else was critical, which was the idea of completing the cube. That is what we had done in this problem, and so we were able to finish the problem in that way. There is one identity which I think you must have done in school, but I want to emphasize when you have three terms, right? A, B, C, then the A cube plus B cube plus C cube, and like one of the practice paper questions was based on this identity. So I want to emphasize that a little bit more. Okay, so just to take the discussion in a slightly different direction for a minute. So have you already done this identity in school? What is the expansion or the factorization of this? Can somebody tell? Anybody who knows this identity already? Or nobody knows this identity? That is surprising.
Yes,
You know it, right? So what are the factors? Yes, Prasanna.
equal to a plus
Hmm.
b plus c
Hmm.
into
Hmm.
a square plus b square plus c square
Hmm.
minus 2ac. No, I think this
It
one.
is like this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So so I think everybody knows this identity, but there are some interesting implications of this identity because we can rearrange this in a slightly different way. So keeping the first bracket as it is, you'll notice what we can do in the second bracket. You see, you have a square, b square, c square over here. So I can try to complete the square, right? So if I want to have for that, I mean, my plan is to have a square, b square, and the middle term for that, b square, c square, and finally c square, a square. So I need two copies of each of these a square, b square, c square. But whereas here I have only one copy, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the whole thing by two. Okay, so I will multiply and divide by two as an intermediate step before we do the final calculation. Okay, so what we are going to do is I'll write this as a plus b plus c times half times Okay. So when I do this, right, what you see is that this AB, BC, C also get multiplied by 2, and they nicely fit into the sort of the middle terms, right? So for A square and B square, I need the middle term of minus 2AB, and I exactly have minus 2AB here. So like that, this can nicely be rearranged into these three separate terms. Okay. So therefore, if I write it a little bit more cleanly, basically the bracket is now equivalent to, so half will remain outside. So this that half will still be there. Let us write it here. And inside the bracket, what I'm going to get is a square minus 2ab plus b square. And same pattern will continue. Okay, so all of this is inside the bracket. And now these are all perfect squares. So I can just write this as a minus b bracket square. Okay, so this is a slightly different version of the same identity. Okay, the LHS is the same. So I've not changed the LHS. Okay, so a cube plus b cube plus c cube minus 3abc is equal to a plus b plus c by 2 into this a minus b bracket square plus b minus c bracket square plus c minus a bracket. Okay, why is this interesting? Because uh, two things we can observe. First is, what if, let us say, I give you the information that some three numbers are there such that a plus b plus c is 0. Okay, therefore, in the above identity, RHS is 0, right? And so, therefore, obviously, LHS is also 0. And if LHS is 0, you see that means that therefore, a cube plus b cube plus c cube equals to 3abc. Okay. So if this is true, then I can conclude that this is true. Okay. What about the reverse? Suppose I have given this information that for some three numbers, this is true. Okay. If three numbers satisfy this, then in the above identity, right, if I call this star, then in the star, LHS is 0, right? So therefore, RHS is also 0. So if RHS is 0 and RHS is the product of two brackets, so what will happen? Either the first bracket is 0 or the second bracket is 0, right? So then two cases, like case 1, maybe the first bracket is 0, right? So a plus b plus c is equal to 0. This can also happen. Or if a plus b plus c is 0, then it is case 1. But if, let us say, we know a plus b plus c is not 0, then the second bracket has to be 0, right? Because the product is 0. So if the second bracket is 0, okay, then what can I say? If three numbers satisfy this, and we are talking about real numbers throughout. So in case anybody knows about complex numbers, ignore that. Here we are talking of purely about real numbers. So then what will be the case? When will these three brackets, this sum will be 0? Can somebody tell? What is the only way in which, see, when you have a perfect square, we all know that perfect square cannot be negative, right? It can only be 0 or positive. So if all these three brackets are positive, then the sum will be positive. How can the sum be 0? So what is the only thing that is allowed?
Sir,
Sir, A
one
is
of
equal to
the
B is equal to
brackets
C.
needs to be complex.
Yeah. So the numbers can be complex, but if we are told that we are only talking about real numbers, then the only possibility is that all the brackets are 0, right? So in other words,
Yeah,
A, B,
they're
C
equal.
have to be equal.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, what is the total? If I have to write it like a theorem, then the theorem is like this: that if I have real numbers, so again, insisting that we are talking about real numbers such that a cube plus b cube plus c cube is equal to 3abc, then either 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 the sum is 0 or the numbers are equal. Okay, one of the two has to happen. Only then this will be true. Okay, And see, all of this follows from just the identity which you know, which you already learned before. So just by rearranging that and by doing some of these tricks, you are able to reach this conclusion. Okay. So I want to show this as an example of how you can study that. Whatever you learn in school or what you're going to learn in the next 2 years, don't just rely on what is the teacher going to tell you. You have to, play your own experiments with each of those theorems, proofs, whatever you have, and try to find out more and more interesting facts like this. Okay, and then some of them will be very useful in problem solving. Like we will come to the practice paper in a few minutes. There, the one of the questions I had deliberately used this property in that question. Okay, okay, but anyway, and by the way, all of this is very standard theory. In case you did not follow this, you can just go online and search for this identity, and you will get all the information about it. Okay? I'm not sharing something which is completely new. Okay, so let me go to the next question, question 27. I think this is again one of the simplest questions because all there is to be done is just substitute the values of 1, 2, 3, and you will get some equations, right? So P of X is, well, let me use a, okay, so P of 1 is just 1 plus P of 2 is 8 plus 4A plus 2B. Right? So therefore we have basically these three terms, and we know that they are all equal to each other. So as such, we could write three equations, right? One equal the equation 1 and 2, 1, 2 and 3 and 1 and 3. But actually, we don't have three equations. We only have two equations. So for example, if let's say I write equation 1 as by comparing 1 and 2, right? So the first two are equal. So therefore, what I'm going to get as the equation is a plus b plus 11 equals 4a plus 2b plus 18. This is my first equation. And then similarly, I can compare 1 and 3 to get. Okay, so these are my two equations and two unknowns. If you, as an experiment, you can try to write the third equation also. So this is 1 equal to 2, 1 is equal to 3, and this 2 equal to 3 also you can write, but you will not get some new information. Okay, so doing what we do here is going to give you the same answer. Okay, so we just want to solve this for A and B. So if we just simplify these equations, so I call this lowercase 1 and 2. So equation number 1 is just, uh, if I take everything to one side, it is 3a plus b is equal to minus 7, right? And equation 2 can be simplified as 8a plus 2b is equal to 11 minus 37, that is 26, right? Or if I cancel, I'll get 4a plus b is equal to minus 13. So if I just from this I can eliminate b by subtracting the first equation from the second one to get a is, so a is minus 6, and then b can be obtained as from equation 1, 11. So b is 11 and a is minus 6, and what they've asked us to find is b minus a, which will be 17. If you confirm my answer. Yes. Okay. Okay. So again, very straightforward question, I think. Just substituting the values and understanding that we have two unknowns. So if we have two unknowns, we expect two equations, right? So that we get that easily. So yeah, hopefully should be able to use this to save time. Okay. And then which is the last question of the original paper. So alpha, beta are the roots of the quadratic equation, and we have to find some expression. So again, this goes back to the point that we were talking about last time, that what is the relation between the roots and the coefficients. So we don't need to, you can find solve this equation and find alpha beta, or you can try to directly compute this value from the like from the information about the coefficients and everything. So maybe we let us do the normal way, like solving a quadratic equation. Okay, so I want to solve this quadratic equation for the roots of alpha and beta, and we can do it by, for example, you could do b square minus 4ac, but for that you have to do 173 square and might take some additional time. The other way is you try to factorize. So what, when you want to factorize, what do you want to do? You multiply this and this, right? So basically you have minus 2024, or in other words, I ignore the sign for now and just look at 2024, and I want to factorize into two terms whose difference is 173. So why difference? Because this minus sign was there. So when I ignore the minus sign, I have to implicitly convert my sum into a difference. So I just need to find two numbers whose the difference is 173. So I can just try to factorize this as, I see I can take 4 common. I can take one more copy of 2. And here I see 2 plus 3 is 5, which means divisible by 11. So this is 11 into 23, right? So I have all of these terms which I have to somehow rearrange into two numbers whose product difference is 173. So I can go for very, like if I go for something very small and very large group together, so this will be 8 into some 200 and something, like this is, so this is a very large gap. So basically I need this number to be slightly larger and this number to be slightly smaller. So with some trial and error, you will see that what will work. So what is the next factor after 8, which can be realized using all of these terms? So you see 11, right? So this term can be 11, and everything else will go on that side. So basically 4 into 2 into 23, which is 184. And you see this perfectly matches the requirement that 173 is exactly the difference. So which means I can factorize this as plus 184 x minus 11x minus 1. Okay, and you see the grouping will work correctly. So I'll get 184 x common, and inside I'll have 11x plus 1. So therefore 184x minus 1. Therefore I'm going to get x is equal to 1 upon 184, or x is equal to minus 1 by 11. So one of them is alpha and one of them is beta. Okay, and there we have been told that alpha is greater than beta, which means this is the negative root, so it is must be smaller, and this is alpha. Okay, and therefore what is the answer we want to find? We are supposed to find 1 upon alpha plus 10 upon beta. That is just 184 minus 10 times 11, right? So the answer is 74. Okay, yes. Maybe there is a way to do this even without calculating alpha beta. As I said, that if you want, you can, because what we know from the coefficients are the sum alpha plus beta and the product, right? So using this information also, if maybe there is some clever way to reach this, that would be interesting. I did not think about that, but yeah, maybe it is slightly difficult because this is not symmetric. See, if the alpha and beta had the same coefficient, right? Maybe if some question asks 1 upon alpha plus 1 upon beta, then it is simpler. But here beta has a larger coefficient than alpha. So how to obtain that using just the starting point can be difficult. Not, I won't say impossible, but difficult. Okay, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Like whatever method works. Okay, so that completes the sort of the original questions that we wanted to go through. So before we go to the practice problems, any doubts that anybody has? Again, just to give you an overview that what are the important topics that we covered. So in geometry, if you just go back to what we were doing from the beginning, like we were spent a lot of time focusing on, for example, applying what are called length staging ideas, like how to use Pythagoras theorem to find different lengths, how to use basic trigonometric ratios, like things like similarity, similar triangles, etc. How to use angles, like in parallel lines and things like that. Then we also had a few problems related to area, the ratios of areas when the base is common and height is common, all those things. Uh, those were mainly the geometry topics. There was one question on 3D geometry, but again, not that important, I'll say, compared to other problems. And there was also some coordinate geometry, right? Very basic stuff like how to find the midpoint, how to find the centroid, and things like that. And in algebra, mostly we had some problems related to sequences, like knowing triangular numbers, how to add arithmetic progression, triangular numbers. We had some questions related to quadratic equation, like what are the relation between the roots and the coefficient. Uh, some related to just solving like simultaneous equations or factorization, identities, some basic, and that's it really. So as such, if you see, this is not like a very vast syllabus that you need to know thousands and thousands of properties by heart to solve all of this. Just basic things which everybody has already studied at their school level, but just knowing how to apply them at a more advanced level in the problem. Okay. With that, maybe let us go to the practice problems, the practice paper. I hope everybody got a chance to attempt the paper first in a timed way and then without any time restriction. Um, okay. So, okay, then let us go for first question. Anybody has any uh, oh, well, before that, maybe if you want, I can share the answer key with you for those who have solved the paper. Yeah, so this is the answer key. Yeah, if you want to copy or take a screenshot. I hope it is correct. I have checked my calculations, but in case there is any mistake, let me know. Okay, so I hope you have taken a copied or taken a screenshot of that. So the first question. Okay, anybody who has solved the first question? Can you tell me
Yes, sir.
how to approach? Yes, go ahead.
So-
Adit?
Yes, sir. Can I answer?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
So A plus B is 1 upon 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can square mod alpha plus beta.
Okay,
So because of that, sir, we get A square plus B square plus 2 into mod A mod B.
yes, correct.
So, sir, A square plus B square is equal to 1 upon 9 minus 2 AB.
Yes, correct.
And sir, we take it to, and then it's equal to this, so K upon 9 AB.
Uh, what is yeah, so yeah, this alpha beta product is equal to k upon 9, so it will be like this. Okay,
So we take it to that side, all the K's, and keep the alpha module mod on the other side.
okay, so if I take everything to the one side. Okay,
So we can square both sides.
okay, so
Um,
maybe let me first simplify this. I'm going to get 224 by, okay. So yeah, so for everybody, the approach that we are taking is we want to get rid of the modulus, so we keep isolating and squaring until all the modulus terms are removed. Okay.
So it's alpha beta whole square is also equal to k upon 9 whole square.
Yes, correct. So here in alpha beta, so the fundamental thing is we know the sum of the roots and the product of the roots, right? So we are using that again and again.
Sir, I have done by more easier method.
Yes, yes, we'll come to that. But let me just complete this. Okay, and now if you see the denominator is equal, so the numerator is equal. And I can take the square root of both sides because again k is going to be positive. Right? Did I make some mistake? I'm waiting. I'm waiting to 24 equal to 0. Maybe let me just check if I made some mistake in haste.
So it should be 112 plus minus k, I'm getting so.
Oh yes, so why? When I took this bracket together, 25 nines are to 25, right? Minus 1 to 24 plus 2k. Yeah, is this your calculation coming to be something different than mine?
Sir, mine is matching the answer keys. So
Okay, okay. I mean the method is correct. Maybe I just made some calculation mistake. Okay, one minute. Let me just see if I can spot the error. So 25 is this square. Okay, I think I made a mistake here. So here minus alpha beta is minus k by 9, right? And here when it went from this to this step, this minus should have become plus, which I missed. So therefore, so everywhere. So when I take it to the other side, this will remain minus. So this will also remain minus. So therefore, I'm getting the equation 224 is equal to 4k, and therefore k is 56. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I think this is a good method. Prasanna, you have a different method?
Yes, sir. As we get alpha into beta is minus, therefore any one of the zero is negative.
Yes, correct. This is negative, so one of them is positive and one is negative, correct?
Yes, sir. So we will take that like assume any integer p which is negative of any root.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
And sir, we can then put that value of p in that modulus a plus modulus b equal to 5. Then we can get b and we can get both the roots.
No, but alpha and beta may not be integers, right? They might be fractions or irrational numbers. Because that is not given. Alpha beta can be any numbers. Yeah, this I agree that one is positive, one is negative, but apart from that, we don't know anything about alpha beta. But we can do something else. So what if I just write if I look at this quadratic equation, right, and I just write the roots as normal using my b square minus 4ac formula, what are the two roots going to be? It will be minus b plus or minus root of uh, b square, which is 1 minus plus 4k upon 2. So these are my two roots, right? So if I write them properly, I'm going to get one root as root minus 1 plus root this, and the second root is minus 1 minus. So isn't it clear from this that which of the two roots is positive, which is negative? That this second bracket is necessarily negative, right? Because both terms are negative. And the first term is positive. Why? Because if you look at the numerator, right, this is minus 1, and then you're adding a quantity which is clearly greater than 1. So whatever is inside the bracket is more than 1. So its square root will also be more than 1. So this is the positive root. And so let us say this is the alpha, and this is the negative root, which is we are calling it beta. Okay. So then if this is positive, this is negative, then what is modulo, like mod of alpha, absolute value of alpha plus absolute value of beta? The term which is positive will remain unchanged, and the term which is negative will become minus beta, right? So the absolute value of beta is just minus beta. And now if I subtract these two terms, you'll see that when I subtract, this minus 1 will cancel, and what I will get is simply root of 1 plus 4k. And this is given to be, what is that given to be? 5, right? So I get the equation 5 is equal to root of 1 plus 4k. And from that also you can easily get the answer. So get 25 is equal to 1 plus 4k. Oh, no, sorry. How much is that given? Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake here. The denominator is not 2, it is 2 into 3, 6, right? That is 6. So when I add the 2, I will get upon 3. Okay, so I'll get 15 is equal to root of 1 plus 4k. Therefore, 1 plus 4k is 225. And same as before, you'll solve it and get 56. Okay, so the critical point was noticing that one root has to be positive and one has to be negative. And then we can just assign which is positive, which is negative, and simplify directly. So actually this absolute value goes away in one single step. Compared to that, in this solution, we had to do multiple times, we had to do the squaring and squaring to get rid of the absolute value. But here we got rid of the absolute value in just one step. Okay, so consider the pros and cons of both solutions. There is no absolute like perfect or ideal recommended way. Every approach has some advantage and some disadvantage. Okay, let's go into the next question. Okay, anybody who has solved question 2? So what is given? The position of A and B is given, right? So A is somewhere over here, let us say minus 18, 24, and B is also given, and the centroid is also given. So first thing is that we can assume that the third vertex C be at some x comma y. Okay, so can we find x and y, because we have the coordinates of the centroid, right? So I can just write the centroid will be the average of all the three, right? So it will be minus 18 plus 32 plus x upon 3, and 8 is also the average of the y coordinates. And so if you solve this, will get the values of x and y. So in fact, you will see that the value of x and y are both 0. That is itself satisfying, which means the third point of my triangle is actually at the origin. Okay, so this is my triangle, is ABC, something like this. Yes, Prasanna.
Sir, y will be equal to minus 24?
Oh, okay. Then I think I made a mistake in the calculation. Okay, okay. Y minus 24. Yes, yes, you are correct. So I think I made a calculation mistake in this problem. Okay, so y is minus 24. Okay. So then I can understand why the problem may seem more difficult. My intention was to keep the centroid as the third point at the origin, but maybe by mistake I took it somewhere else. So then I don't know if the answer will come to an integer also. Maybe it will not be an integer. But anyway, let us calculate the answer anyway. It doesn't matter if it is fits the format or not. So x is 0, y is minus 24. So the third point is somewhere over here. Okay. 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 And now I want to find the radius of the circumcircle. So what I will need to do, I need to find the point. So let us try to find the that is also called O. So unfortunately, the origin is also called O. But for now, let us not look at the origin. Okay, so I want to find the circumcenter, which is equal. Yes.
Ka?
Can you mute, Prasanna? Okay. So we want to find the circumcenter, which is equidistant from all ABC, right? So if I call this coordinate h comma k, okay, so I want to find h and k such that O is equidistant from all three ABC. Okay, so if I just write a distance formula, right? So I want OA square is equal to OB square is equal to OC square. Okay, that is the distance which I am interested in, right? So if I just write the expression of OA square, like then that will be simply h plus 18 square plus k minus 24 square is equal to OB square. So actually, if you look at it, because AB is so conveniently parallel to the, like, it is like parallel to the x-axis, right? So its perpendicular bisector will just be like this. It will pass through. So what is the midpoint of A and B? If I take the average coordinate, so the y coordinate will remain 24 only, and the x coordinate will be 32 minus 18, which is 14 upon 2, right? So therefore, this point is 7 comma 24, right? The midpoint of AD. And so if I draw the perpendicular bisector like this, then by this circumcenter will lie on this line somewhere, right? And so any line point which lies on this line, all of them will have the same x coordinate, right? So the x coordinate is guaranteed to be 7. So I don't even need to solve anything. Directly I can write the x coordinate as 7. And so I only need to find the y coordinate. So k is the only unknown in my equation. Okay. So now to find the y coordinate, I need to find. So I'm going to compare OA and OC. Okay. See, now OA and OB are going to be equal because why? This is the perpendicular bisector. So any point on this line will be equidistant from A and B. So I need to compare OC now. Okay. So here this was OA square. So similarly, if I write OC square, what am I going to get? So OC square is, let me write this again. So my circumcenter is of the form 7 comma something. Okay. So OA square turned out to be 7 minus 18 square. So 7 plus 18 square plus k minus 24 square. And OC square will be 7 square plus minus 24 minus 24 plus k square. Okay, so these two have to be equal, right? And then in this, the only unknown variable is k. Everything else is going to get cancelled. So therefore, if I expand this, I'm going to get 18%, that is 25 square. Is equal to 49 plus okay, so you see many things are going to cancel because this k square is going to go away. Even this 576 is going to go away. And so I will be left with just these two terms, 48k, 48k. So if I take that to one side, so 96k is equal to, okay, and so I get the value of k as, I think it is 6, right? 6, 9, so 6 is the 36, 6, 9 are 54, yes, correct. So therefore k is 6. So which means my circumcenter is at 7 comma 6. Okay. And so once I found the coordinate of my center, then finding the distance from O to any of the 3 points will give me my answer, right? So maybe unfortunately the answer will not be an integer 00299, but regardless, you should know the method. So let us say we find OC. So OC square is 7 square plus 6 minus 24, that is 30 square. Okay, whatever, 949. Okay, but this was a calculation mistake from my side. So yeah, if this happens in the actual paper, right, that you get some problem which your answer is not getting correctly between 00 to 99, and if you think your answer is sure, then you can just leave the problem because the automatically the computer software will be giving the marks to all the students. So, okay, so you don't have to worry about the wrong question in case this happens. This generally never happens, but I mean, just to let you know that you don't have to panic about the wrong answer. Okay, any doubts about this question? Like forgetting the calculation, is the method clear? How we found? First, we found the third point C using the centroid formula. Then we had to find the circumcenter which is equidistant from all three ABC. In general, you have to solve two equations, like one for AB and one for AC. But luckily, because AB are conveniently located on the same y-axis, like same y coordinate, so we can exploit that to find this red line, which is the perpendicular line, very quickly. And so that gives us the x coordinate directly. And then we just equate OA and OC to get the rest of the calculus. Okay, I'll just pause for 1 minute. I guess what my mistake was, I took, yeah, I think the G took for the y coordinate of G should not be 8, it should be 16, I think. So if you try this question again with the y coordinate, so in fact, this was a very nice question, but unfortunately, because of my mistake. So try the question again with this type correction. Let the centroid be 14 by 3 comma 16. Okay. Then try this question again. You will see that yeah, what is happening exactly. Okay, anyway, then question 3. Okay, so this question 3 was very similar to the some of the questions we had already done previously related to triangular numbers and things like that. So you see that this S1, S2, S3, the number of terms is increasing by 1 every time. So basically the nth, the Sn, right, the nth set will have how many terms? It will have n terms, right? Okay, and can we say what is the last term? What would be the last term of the nth bracket? Can somebody tell?
n into n plus 1 by 2.
Yeah, correct, right? It is the nth triangular number, which is n into n plus 1 by 2. Okay, so if this is the last term, then what about the first term? So there are two ways to find the first term. One is you take the last term and you subtract n minus 1, right? Why n minus 1? Because again, I hope you are not falling for the mistake of subtracting n. Okay, but if you go from the last term and subtract n minus 1, you will get the first term, right? Or alternately, because this is where the previous Sn has just finished, right? If I just, the term before that, Sn minus 1 bracket, wherever it ended, so the last term of the Sn minus 1 bracket was the n minus 1 triangular number. So this will be the number after that. So therefore, this first term is Tn minus 1 plus 1, right? Or you can also write it as the last term minus n minus 1. Both of them will give you the same answer. Okay. So therefore, basically, I know the first term and the last term of Sn. So then I should be able to quickly find the sum of all the values, right? So the sum of the terms of Sn. So it will be the number of terms into the average, right? Uh, so first term plus last term upon 2. So that is n into. So let us say I use this formula. Okay. So therefore, the first term will be simply Tn minus n plus 1, and the last term is Tn upon 2. Okay. So if I take the upon 2 outside, this is just 2 times Tn. Okay, and Tn is this n into n plus 1 by 2. So therefore, I'm going to get okay, and if I expand the bracket, I'm going to get n square plus n minus n will cancel, so it will be n square plus 1. Okay, so the sum of the terms of Sn is given by this formula, n by 2 into n square plus 1. Okay, and in the same way, the sum of the next bracket Sn plus 1, and in this formula, if I just replace n with n plus 1, I will get the answer for the next set. So therefore, the next set has the answer n plus 1 by 2, and here I have to do n plus 1 square plus 1. Okay, so this is the sum of the terms of Sn, and this is the sum of the terms of Sn plus. And now the question is giving the information that the first sum is 199 less than the second, right? So therefore, I'm going to get the equation. This first sum is the second sum minus 199. And now I just have to solve for n. Right? So if I multiply everything by 2 and this inside the bracket, let me just expand it. So this is n square plus 2n plus 1 plus 1. So n square plus 2n plus 2 and multiplied by 2. And so here at first it may seem that I'm going to get a third degree polynomial, but actually if you see n cube is going to get cancelled. So when I expand the RHS, what I'm going to get? I'm going to get n cube plus so again we can do this quickly in place, like just scan the brackets and see how we are going to create n square. So n square can be formed by combining this with 1 or with n and 2n. So therefore total it will have 3n square. And similarly n raised to 1 can be formed by either multiplying n with 2, so that will be 2n, or 2n and 1, so 4n. And the constant is simply 1 into 2. Okay, so again, like these small tricks might save you a few seconds. So n cube will cancel, and I'm going to get a quadratic in n, right? So I'm going to get 3n square plus 3n minus 396 is equal to 0. Okay, and I think this 132 is very conveniently divisible by, it is 11 into 12. So I can just factorize this as so therefore the only answer possible are minus 12 and 1, 11. And here clearly the question, there is no scope of n being negative. So the correct answer is plus 11. Okay. So I mean this whole question relied on just the observation, the very basic thing that what is the element, what are the elements of Sn? Like we know the last term has to be the nth triangular number, and the first term has to be the n minus 1th triangular number plus 1. Or alternately, from last term you go n minus 1 steps backward. And then knowing that this is a arithmetic progression, right? The consecutive terms have the same difference. So I can apply this formula to find the sum, the number of terms into the first plus last upon 2. And then after that, the rest is just algebra. Okay. By the way, I hope you got a chance to watch the video by Subodh sir about how to avoid silly mistakes. I find it very inspiring to hear from Subodh sir what are the things that students can do. And by the way, many of the students who were attended that batch have gone ahead and have very successful careers in lots of professions. For example, one of the students sitting on the front row, if you go back and watch the video, right, one of the students sitting in the front row is Prafulla Dhariwal, who you may already know is famously multiple medalist, not just a IMO medalist, but he has also had medals in other subjects, astronomy, physics, and many other things. So all the inspiration and the guidance given by Subodh sir has really helped many of these students to do lots of amazing things. So please pay special attention to his comments. Okay, if any other questions about this problem, or we'll go to the next one. Okay, then question 4. Okay, anybody who has solved question 4?
So can you see?
Yes, go ahead.
So sir, sine angle ABC is 1 upon 5.
Yes.
So first we can sort of construct the figure and triangle ABC right angle to B, and then triangle ADC right at right angle at D.
Yes.
So we'll take BC as X,
Okay.
and so because of that, AC is equal to 5X.
Yes, because sine of BSC is
One.
opposite upon hypotenuse, so therefore AC will be 5x, correct?
So it's going to the sum that that CD is equal to 3X because it's thrice.
Yes. CD is 3 times BC, so it is 3x.
And
Okay.
AD is given as 8.
Yes, correct.
So we can just apply Pythagoras theorem and get X as 2, and then we can substitute it in 5X.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct.
Yes.
Right. So here, I mean, in this ADC triangle is clearly of the ratio 3:4:5. So therefore, even without Pythagoras, you can see that this 4x, this side has to be equal to 4x. Therefore, 4x is 8 and x is 2. And what we wanted to find was AC, right? So AC is 10, right? Yeah, a very short and simple question. Again, hope that you are able to use this to save your time. I don't think that there is a lot of hope for any alternate method. That instead of calling this x, maybe somebody will call the AC as x, but doesn't matter. Ultimately, just direct application of the definition of sine theta. That is all that is required. Okay. Any doubts about this question? Okay. If not, then the next question, question 5. Anybody who has solved question 5?
So,
Okay, just 1 minute.
so we can take the two equations as lines.
Okay.
And so we can arrange them in the form y is equal to slope into x plus the y intercept.
Yeah. Okay.
So we
Then
can
what
take
will happen?
the x term that side and divided by k plus 3.
Okay. Okay. So let me. So by the way, first before that, has everybody done this in school? That you know the y equal to mx plus c equation of the line in the coordinate plane, or I don't know if this is covered in all the school boards, or maybe some of you don't know. By the way, I have one proof, one solution. It does not require this information, but in case you know, it might be easier to solve. So basically, the c is the y intercept of the line, and m is the slope. Okay, so the idea is we let us first convert the first equation into this y equal to the standard form. So for that, I need to divide. I'll take this to the other side. So I'll write k minus 1 times y, and the coefficient of y needs to be 1, so I need to divide with that. Okay, and I can do the very similar thing to the other equation also to get y is equal to, yes. Okay, then what do we do after this?
So sir, in this, the slope will be minus 13 minus k upon k plus 3.
Yes, correct. For the second line, yes, correct. So if I call the slope of the second line as m2 and m1, so these are the slopes. So then the slope of the first line will be like basically this bracket, right? So if I take the minus sign inside, and the slope of the second line will be minus 13 minus k. Okay, then what will happen?
So they'll be equal.
Yes. So why do they have to be equal? Because what is the question saying that these two, so if I draw them as lines, let's say this is my line number 1 with some slope and some intercept, and this is my line number 2. And if the two lines are not parallel, then they have to intersect, right? And wherever they intersect, that point will satisfy both equations. So the only way in which these two lines will not have any common point is that they have to be parallel. That is the first thing. Okay. So if they have to be parallel, the slopes have to be equal. So we should be able to equate this, and then if these two are equal, then what will happen? Maybe we can cross multiply and solve. Okay, so let's say we expand the brackets. On the LHS, I'm going to get minus 2k square plus k minus 6, so minus 5k. And on the RHS, I'm going to get minus k square minus 13 plus 1, so minus 12k. Okay, so if I take everything to one side, so the minus 2k square and this will become plus k square minus 7k. And this will be plus 13. Okay, so this is the equation I'm getting, k square minus 7k plus 10 equal to 0. Okay, and so if I easily to see that the minus 2 and minus 5 are the roots, so therefore k is 2 or k is equal to 5. Okay, then what should we do?
So if we substitute k is equal to 2 in the slope formulas, we can see that the slopes are not equal.
Is it really? If I substitute k is equal to 2, what slope? So if k is equal to 2, then the slope m1 is how much? 1 minus 4 upon 2, which is minus 3, and m2 is minus 13 minus 2 upon 5, which is also minus 3. The slopes are equal. So if k is equal to 2 also the slopes are equal, and if I try k is equal to 5, then also you'll see that the slopes are equal. So if k is equal to 5, then the slope of the first line is 1 minus 10 by 4, which is minus 9 by 4.
खाली प्लस तयार घेतली
काय झालं?
तर 13 ची व्हॅल्यू पॉझिटिव्ह आहे
कुठल्या ह्या इथे या इक्वेशन मध्ये?
हा M2 मध्ये
का बरं? इथे तर minus 13 आहे. निगेटिव्ह आहे ना, minus 13 आहे. So I am getting in both. So apparently k equal to 2 and k equal to 5, in both cases the lines are parallel. So then does it mean that both k are valid answers?
Sir, I have done this question with different method.
Okay, I'll come to that. But before that, I just want to finish this way. That what is happening then? Which of them is the right answer? Is k equal to 2 or k equal to 5? So for that, actually, you need to look at the lines once more, because so far we are only looking at the slope part, but we did not look at the intercept part. So let us calculate the intercept also. Like if I call the intercept as C1 and C2, right? Then in the first case, right? If k is equal to 2, then what is the intercept C1? So the intercept is given by this term, 1 over k minus 1. So in the first case, the intercept is 1 upon 2 minus 1, which is half. Sorry, it is 1. Sorry. And what about C2? So C2 is this intercept, which is 5 upon k plus 3. So you see, this is also 1. So when k is equal to 2, both slope and the intercept are equal, which means that actually the lines are identical. So if the two lines are identical, then how many points do they have in common? Infinite, right? So actually, in the case of k is equal to 2, it is not the case that there is no solution. There is actually infinite solution, which will happen if two lines are overlapping. Okay. But in the case of k is equal to 5, you will see that the C1 and C2 are different. So C1 is 1 over 4, and C2 is how much? 5 upon 5 plus 3. So 5 upon 8. So you see C2, C1, C2 are different. So therefore, this is really the case we are looking for, where the slopes are equal, but the intercepts are different. So therefore, these are really two parallel and distinct lines. So therefore, here you have no solution. And so the only acceptable answer is k is equal to 5 and not k is equal to 2. Okay, but all of this was based on whether you know this y equal to mx plus c formula, which maybe if you don't know that, then understandably this method is difficult to follow. But yes, somebody else has a different method.
Sir, yes, I have.
Yes, okay. Harshvardhan.
Sir, so in the question it is given that there is no solution for the lines. So we can
Hmm.
assume that the lines are parallel.
Okay.
So there is a formula that when lines are parallel, so that A1 upon A2 is equal to B1 upon B2 is not equal to C1 upon C2.
Yes, correct.
So by substituting the values, we get the value of K firstly.
Yes, yes, correct. Understood. But from where did you get that formula?
In the NCRT.
No, no, I mean the NCERT, but how do you know the formula is correct?
It is मतलब म्हणजे ते शिकवलंय आमच्या स्कूलमध्ये.
हो, शिकवलं म्हणजे त्याचं प्रूफ माहिती आहे का?
नाही 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 नाही.
Okay, ठीक आहे. But yes, what you're saying is correct. Basically, what is going to happen here? Let us do this problem for these particular values. But what you're saying is perfectly valid. Instead of writing this first, suppose the question was ax. So let us say the terms. So let me just repeat what Harshvardhan said. So if you have two lines, right? Let's say a1x plus b1y is equal to c1, and a2x plus b2y is equal to c2. Then the condition of if there are no solutions, then the expectation is that the ratio of these a1 upon a2 and b1 upon b2, these two will be equal, and it is not equal to c1 upon c. So only when this happens, it will be that these two lines have no solution. But why is that? So let us see how to do that now. In fact, let me do it for this ABC only. Forget. So we know, or we can substitute this A1, B1, C1 with these numbers at the end. But for now, let us do it in terms of A1, B1, C1. So actually, it is very simple. We all of us know how to solve simultaneously, correct? So I need to, let us say I want to eliminate y. So what should I multiply the first equation with and second equation, and then add or subtract to get rid of y? How will I get rid of y?
So B2 and B1 respectively.
Correct. So I'll multiply the first equation with b1, b2, and minus the second equation times b1, right? If I do that, then the y will get cancelled. So if I do that, the first equation multiplied by b2 will look like b2 a1 x plus b1 b2 y is equal to c1 b2. And the second equation, if I multiply with b1, b1 a2 x plus b1 b2 y is equal to c2 b1, right? And I'm going to subtract now. So when I subtract, y is going to get cancelled, and here I'm going to get x times b2 a1 minus b1 a2. And on the right side, I have okay. So I have x times something is equal to something. So if this bracket, right, if this left hand bracket is non-zero, then what is preventing me from just dividing and taking it to the other side, and I will always get a value of x equal to something, right? So if this bracket is non-zero, then I will always have a solution. So therefore, if we want to find a case where there is no solution, the only possibility is that bracket is zero. Is that that bracket is zero? B2 a1 minus b1 a2 has to be zero, because then if this is zero, then I cannot divide by zero, right? Everybody knows that something divided by zero, this is not a valid formula. You cannot divide by zero. So therefore, this bracket has to be zero. And now if you see, I can rearrange this into this form. If I take this to the other side and just divide, then this will become A1 upon A2 is equal to B1 upon B2. Okay, so this has to be true, but this is not sufficient, because if you look at the RHS, right, even if let us say this term is 0, okay, so suppose I have this equation, tell you to solve this equation, solve the equation 0 into x is equal to 0. So does this have any valid answer for x? Is there any value of x which satisfies this equation? The answer is yes, all of them. Any value of x will satisfy this, right? So just because the first bracket is 0 does not mean that my equation does not have any solution. If only the first bracket is 0, so the requirement is the first bracket has to be 0 and the second bracket has to be non-zero. Only then I will get an equation. So instead of 0x equal to 0, suppose my equation is 0x equal to 5, let us say. Now this is really a equation which has no solution, because 0 multiplied by anything has to be 0. So therefore, if RHS is non-zero and LHS is 0, only then my solution will have my equation will have no solution. And so therefore, that is, this second bracket becoming non-zero will give you this second condition. Okay, so now you know the proof that why this formula works. That if I have two equations which have no solution, then necessarily this ratio has to be like this, and it is not equal to C1 upon C. Only then it will have no solution. Okay, and now if you want to apply this for our given problem, we just, instead of a1 a2, we will have to write these terms 2k minus 1 and k plus 13, etc. And if you simplify, you are going to get same thing that we did below, so nothing different. When you let's say when you write these two, right, when you're comparing a1 upon a2 equal to b1 upon b2, you're exactly comparing these slope. Actually, if you do the calculations as a homework, I'll suggest that complete, right, a1 upon a2 equal to b1 upon b2, you see that exactly we are comparing the slope. So when I solve this equation, I'm going to get two values of k equal to 2 or k equal to 5. And when that is where the second condition will matter, whether the C1 and C2 are equal or not. Again, you see that if k equal to 2, then C1 and C2 are equal. And if k equal to 5, then C1 and C2 are not equal. Okay. And again, just to illustrate what happens at 2 and 5, that if I put the values of 2 and 5 in my original equation, what happens to those equations? That is very important. So let me just write it briefly over here. So suppose I substitute k equal to 2 in my original equation. What does the first equation become? 2k minus 1 will become just 3, right? 3x plus y is equal to 1. So this is my equation number 1. And the second equation will become 15x plus 5y is equal to 5. So these are my two equations. And do you see why? See, second equation is just the first equation multiplied by 5. So if there is some x and y which satisfy the first equation, automatically it is going to satisfy the second equation. But nowhere in that process have we said that no solutions exist. In fact, we are getting infinite solutions, right? Every x and y which satisfies the first equation will satisfy the entire system. So that is what happens when k is equal to 2. On the other hand, when I put k is equal to 5, now what are the two equations? So my first equation becomes 2k minus 1 manje 9x plus 4y is equal to 1. And what is my second equation? 18x plus 8y is equal to 5. And now you see, this time the LHS is double, but the RHS is not double. So which means that there is a clear contradiction, that if some x and y satisfy the first equation, then we expect that double of that 18x plus 8y will be equal to 2. But here it is given as 5. And since 2 and 5 are clearly not equal, so therefore this system has no solution. Okay, so you see there are so many different ways of looking at the same theory, that you can look at them as lines which are parallel. You can look at it in terms of these like ratios. In fact, we are not even studied the topic. We are going to study this topic called determinants in 11th standard. And when you do that topic, come back and think about this question again. You will have one more different method of doing the same problem. So there is a lot of interesting theory that is related to all of this. And in fact, maybe you already know that these days we have a big wave of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. Lot of that is based on a topic called linear algebra. Okay, so like vectors, matrices, you must have heard of these terms maybe. Like you already know vectors from physics. Okay, so all of what we are doing in this problem is a very small version of the theory that is used for all the machine learning and artificial intelligence. So if all of this you find interesting, then you may like to pursue this as a one of your topics in your college or afterwards also. Okay, but yeah, anyway, I mean, coming back to the paper. So if you want to solve a question like this, go back to the basics, like just eliminate variables and solve it from there. Okay, then maybe the next question, question 6. Okay, anybody who has solved question 6?
क्वेश्चन 10 का सर.
नाही 10 नाही 6. 6वा क्वेश्चन केला का कोणी?
हो सर.
हा सांग काय करायचं.
सर आधी ते फिगर काढल्यानंतर मग डी आणि बी च्या मध्ये एक परपेंडिक्युलर काढायचे डीबी वर.
ओके,
आणि मग त्यानंतर त्यांनी कॉस कॉस थांबा त्यांनी कॉस एडीबी दिलेला आहे.
हा म्हणजे कॉस एडीई बरोबर.
हा ते
ओके,
एडी
मग काय होत.
25 आहे आणि आणि डीपी 7 आहे डीई 7 आहे.
नाही पण कॉस्ट दिलाय म्हणजे रेशो दिलाय ना, ऍक्च्युअल व्हॅल्यू कुठे माहिती एडीची.
हा नाही म्हणजे ते परपेंडिक्युलर 24 येते ना.
तो येते पण प्रूव्ह कसं करणार.
ते
your guess is correct, but how do you prove it?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay, but yes, see, if you are doing this question for an exam, it is perfectly fine to guess because the number is so nice. 30, 40. So आपल्या 3, 4, 5 ट्रायंगलचा हा भाऊ आहे ना, 30, 40, 50 ट्रायंगल. So everything is matching very nicely. की हे 50 आहे, हे 25 आहे, and your intuition is perfectly correct. These are the values of the lens, and you will get the answer also. If you write it, if you directly write that BC is 50, your answer will be correct, and you will get the mark. But we want to be better students. How do we prove this? की आपल्याला माहित तर नाहीये, आपण गेस केलंय फक्त. So let us see how to prove it. Okay, but at least we don't know the values, but we know the ratio ना. So let us say त्याला 7 times k कुठल्या तरी k ला 24k and 25k असं तर लिहू शकतो ना. That we don't know the length, but we can say that d is of the form 7 times k, ae is of the form 24k, आणि AD is 25k. Okay, where k is unknown for now. Later on we'll see that k is actually 1, but आता माहित नाही आपल्याला. Okay, so these are the 3 lengths of these 3. Okay, and then what we have is the AB and AC च्या length दिलेत आपल्याला बरोबर. And आणि हे BC पण आपल्याला माहित नाही. Right now we don't know BC. So let us say, and D is the midpoint. So D पासून B and D पासून C हे distance तर equal आहे. So let us give that some other letter. Let us say K वापरला J. Okay. So BD, so let BD and DC be equal to J. आणि हे रेशिओचा हा K. So we have to find the equations for J and K. And for that, what we will make use of this AE perpendicular काढल्यामुळे आपल्याला पायथागोरस थेरम वापरू शकतो in triangle ABE. In triangle ABE by Pythagoras theorem, what I can say is 30 square is equal to, आता height तर 24k आहे, so it's a 24k square. And what is the third side? It is BE, right? But BE is total BD म्हणजे J minus 7k, correct? This is BE. And in the same way for triangle ACE, also I know the hypotenuse. So 40 square is 24k square. And CE. Now, how much is CE? CE will be J plus 7k. So I have two equations and two unknowns. So I can solve this and get the value of J and K, correct? So if I just simplify it further, क्या क्या मिलता है आपल्याला? So first equation can be rewritten as 900 is equal to 24. With the 24 तसाच ठेवणार आहे, because you see that because of Pythagorean triplet, it will going to get combined with. So you see 24 square plus 7 square will become 20, because again standard Pythagorean triplet तुम्हाला माहिती पाहिजे 7, 24, 25. Okay. And the second equation is 1600 is equal to okay. So as I said, 24 and 7 square will become 25 square. And the same in the this also. Okay. So I know this म्हणजे ही टर्म आणि ही टर्म मध्ये this minus this and this plus this असं माहिती आहे ना मला. So I can just add and subtract these equations to get the individual values. बरोबर? So if I call this equation 1 and 2, then if I add equation 1 and 2, I'm going to get 2500 is equal to 14k cancel होणार, and I will go to get 50. Oh sorry. 25 square का 625, right? So 1250k square, or in other words, 1250 is equal to and if I subtract the equations, so equation 2 minus equation 1, then I'm going to get 700 is equal to 28k. बरोबर? So therefore k ची व्हॅल्यू मिळाली आपल्याला आपल्याला केस हवा होता ना ऍक्च्युली. हा, so we get k as 25. Sorry. Okay. अरे 25 मिळाला आपला k. I thought k should be 1. 25 कुठे झाला एकदम? Did I make some calculation mistake? Sorry. When I made a mistake over here. When I took the middle term, it is 14 into k into j. J पण आहे ना? Okay. Okay. So actually, what I'm getting as 700 is equal to 28k into j, or j into k. And so I have to use this. So I still have two equations and two unknowns. My problem is not finished. So this is equation number 3 and equation number 4. From this, I want to eliminate j and k. Correct? So one idea is that I can complete the square. If you see this equation 3 मध्ये middle term, if I add or subtract the middle term correctly, I will get the equation. So let us say I add. So this is 25 square. So 25 to 50. So I need a middle term of 50 kj. Okay. And if I add and subtract 50 kj. And by the way, from this equation I know the value of jk, right? So jk is 25. Okay. So maybe instead of adding and subtracting it like this, let me add 50 kj to the LHS. Okay. So therefore, I'm on the LHS. I'm going to get 1250 plus 15 to 25. So that is 2500, And now RHS is a perfect square, but RHS is just 25k plus j bracket square. And so taking the square root, I get 50 is equal to 25k plus g. I all of this I did by adding this middle term. But in the same way, I can subtract the middle term to get, but I can, when I have to complete the square, I can complete it in a positive or negative. So only possible, hai na? So if I subtract 50 kj, then I'll get one more equation. And if you see the left hand side is just 0 because 50 into 25 is 1250. So therefore, this is 25k minus j square. So therefore, taking the square root, I'm getting the second equation is so these are my two equations. 50 is equal to 25k plus j and 0 is equal to 25k minus j. So now from this you can see that by solving I'm going to get k is equal to 1 and j is equal to 25. Okay, so this is the sort of, I would say, technically the right way to solve this. If you don't want to just guess the answer but do the calculations properly, then this is what it looks like. Maybe there is a simpler method, I need to think, but at least Malaji Susli method अशी होती. So you have to find AB and AC, apply Pythagoras theorem, and then they actually the simplification मध्ये बराच algebra लागला. म्हणजे to go from this equation to the final answer required lots of intermediate steps. But as such, every step is a small thing जे तुम्ही ऑलरेडी केलेलं आहे. की असं नाही की कुठली मोठी उडी होती जी तुम्ही बघितलेलीच नाहीये, राईट? एव्हरी इंडिव्हिज्युअल स्टेप इफ यू सी की हे सिम्प्लिफाय करून एक्सपांड करणं, मग हे मायनस आणि प्लस बघून ते ऍड करून सबट्रॅक्ट करणं, all of these things you have done in other cases. So nothing is new as such. When this completing the square trick, because you must have used this to solve the quadratic equation many times. So all the tricks but how to combine them is the challenge. Okay. But I'll be curious if you have any other different method. One more method, and now just looking at the problem, right? I'm just thinking about this method. If you, as a homework, you want to give it a try. So do you know Apollonius theorem? What is Apollonius theorem?
Yes, sir.
Right? So because AD is a median, no? So median की length is 25k आहे. So can I directly write AB square plus AC square is equal to twice the median square plus BC square by 2. So if I do that, maybe some of this calculation will get simplified because AB square plus AC square is just 50, right? 50 square is equal to 2 times AD we have assumed as 25k. So 625k square, and instead of b square by 2, so BC square, so BC is 2 times j, right? So you see that it will be 4j square divided by 2, so effectively 2j square. So I think I'm basically getting this equation directly. हे equation मला बरेच effort करून मिळालं, ते मला इथे directly मिळतं. So some ideas like this can help to reduce the calculation. Okay, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Like whether you do the problem with one method or the other, the basic idea is using simple Pythagoras theorem and things like that. Okay, then maybe go to the next problem. Okay, question 7. So yes, question 7 was the one I was talking about earlier, that where that a cube plus b cube plus c cube equal to 3abc, that property is useful to solve a question like this. Okay, so maybe I'll give you 1 minute to try this problem again because maybe some of you did not know that property. So I'll just wait for 1 minute. Okay, anybody is able to figure out how to solve this question? So A, B, C are the roots of that equation, and they are given as real roots. See why again I emphasize that these are real roots so that we can use that property. Otherwise, if the numbers are complex, then it is difficult to make any progress. But for real numbers, we have some special properties, right? Okay. So first thing, even before doing anything else, if these are the roots and these are the coefficients, then the same property that we saw last time also, I will not repeat the details, but basically the sum of the roots can be written as P. The two at a time, like AB, BC, and CA, like this, can be written as Q, and ABC product together will be equal to minus of the last term. So minus of minus will become 125. So we have all this information about ABC. And then further, I am also given this additional information that A cube plus B cube plus C cube is equal to 375. So here itself, I mean, if you compare these two lines, it is clear that why this information is given in this way, because what I'm getting is that A cube plus B cube plus C cube is equal to 3ABC. And therefore, if we go back to that property that we had looked at, so only possibilities are either their sum is 0, or the A, B, C are all equal to each other. One of the two has to happen. But now A plus B plus C is P right here. And again, the question, you see, everything given in the question is very deliberate. That here P is given as positive real number. So P is guaranteed to be positive. So therefore, this is eliminated, that A plus B plus C is cannot be 0. So therefore, the only possibility is that ABC have to be equal. And so if ABC have to be equal, and we know their product is 125, so it simply means that each of them is equal to the cube root of 125. So you see how without even giving a lot of information, we are actually giving so much information, that things that you might ignore, that what is the importance of P as a positive number. But you see, that is important. That is what allows us to eliminate this case and consider that ABC have to be equal. Okay. And once you realize this, then the rest is you can do, because now how much is A plus B plus C? So P, which is the sum of all the three, will be C 15, and Q, which is the product of AB plus BC plus CA, so that will be 25 plus 25 plus 25, so that will be 75. And so the answer we are looking for is 90. Okay, so this is bit of a more trick question. Maybe if you did not know this property, then maybe it is, I would say it is difficult to do this problem if you did not observe this factorization trick. Okay, so make careful note of this. And by the way, I mean, we are not studying all of this just for this whatever entrance exam you have. All of these tricks in some or the other form can also be used in JEE. Okay, so it is like we are preparing for the next 2.5 years of your JEE preparation. No matter uh, where you study for the exam, you have to keep all of these things in mind. Okay, and go to the next question, question 8. Okay, anybody who has solved question 8?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just 1 minute. Let me draw the diagram. Yes, go ahead. So what is given is ABY and CXB are given. And which AXCY is also given. and we want to find the area of the entire rectangle ABCD. Okay, so what do we do first? एक कोणीतरी म्हटलं तुम्हाला आलं पाहिजे.
येस सर. सर पहिल्यांदा आपण ए बी एक्सचा ए बी वायचा एरिया दिलाय आपल्याला 11
हम्म,
आणि सी एक्स डीचा एरिया दिलाय 15
बरोबर.
आणि ए एक्स सी वायचा एरिया दिलाय 16. मग
हम्म,
हाईट कॉमन आहेत आणि बेसिस पण सेम आहेत म्हणल्यावर ट्रायंगल ए एक्स वाय आणि सी एक्स वायचा एरिया 8 होणार.
करेक्ट, बरोबर.
आणि मग त्याच्यावरून आपण एरिया ऑफ सी वाय डी 7 येणार आणि एरिया ऑफ ए बी एक्स 3 येणार.
बरोबर.
मग एरिया ऑफ बी एक्स सी पण 3 होणार कारण की हाईट पण सेम आहेत आणि बेस पण सेम आहे.
बरोबर. बरोबर.
मग सिमिलरली एरिया ऑफ सी वाय डी 7 होणार.
बरोबर. मग झालं, मग काय सगळं चालेल. Correct.
एरिया ऑफ ए वाय डी पण 7 कॉमन
Correct.
बेस अँड सेम हाईट.
Correct. Okay, does everybody follow this? We are just using this again and again. Rectangle is one of the special quadrilateral. जिथे काय होतं, if you look at this diagonal BD, right? If I drop altitude from the A and C to the BD, then they are going to be of equal height. In case you cannot see why, you can try to prove this as separately, but should be obvious that why symmetry, if nothing else. You know that word symmetry keeps coming back. Is A and C are at the same distance from BD, which is very helpful because now what will happen? Like let us start from the beginning. So AXCY is 16. So AXCY is this quadrilateral, which is divided into two smaller triangles, right? AXY and CXY, right? So AXY, या दोघांची sum 16 आहे. But if you notice these two triangles, they have the same base, right? XY common आहे आणि height पण equal. So ह्या दोघांची area equal आहे. So therefore each of them has to be equal to 8. Okay, common base and common height, so their area is equal. Okay, so we got both of them as 8. And in fact, this is true for any 2 points. म्हणजे ह्या BD line वर तुम्ही कुठलेही 2 पॉइंट घ्या आणि ते A आणि C ला जोडले तर you are going to get the same property, right? Like if I just draw the diagram again, any two कुठलेही 2 पॉइंट तुम्ही इकडचे घेतले आणि if you join it to A and C, तर अगेन बेस इज कॉमन आणि हाईट इज कॉमन, म्हणजे हाईट इज इक्वल. त्याच्यामुळे ऑल द एरिया फ्रॉम द लोअर हाफ म्हणजे बीडीच्या खालचे एरिया तुम्ही वरती ट्रान्सफर करू शकता अँड वाईस. ओके, सो देअरफोर once you get this AXY as 8 and then we know that total ABY is 11. So therefore from this the remaining ABX can be computed, right? So ABX will be 11 minus AXY. So therefore it is 3, right? So therefore this ABX is 3 and whatever is the value here, the same will be true on the other side also because again BX is the common base. So this is 3, then this is also 3. And in the same way, we got CYD as 15 minus 8, which is 7. So if this is 7, then this can be copied over here. So this is also 7. And so we know the parts, all the parts now. So therefore the total area of the rectangle will be 3 plus 8 plus 7 multiplied by 2, which is 36. Okay, so again appreciate how simple formula half base into height area of a triangle is being used in different interesting ways to create this kind of problem. आणि बाय द वे नथिंग स्पेशल बट रेक्टँगल पॅरलोग्राम मध्ये पण हेच होणार. म्हणजे इथे रेक्टँगलच्या ऐवजी मी तुम्हाला पॅरलोग्राम सांगितलं असतं तरी द क्वेश्चन वुड बी व्हॅलिड, राईट? Even in the parallelogram we can be sure that the opposite vertices are equidistant from that middle diagonal. Like if I just quickly draw any parallelogram over here. So again, do this as a homework if you are not sure why this is the case. But if I draw perpendiculars, they are going to be equal. Okay, any doubts about this question? येस प्रसन्न.
तर ते ABX आणि BXC चं हाईट कसं काय कॉमन असेल, म्हणजे सेम असेल?
आता ABX आणि BXC आपला बेस BX आहे बरोबर. सो इफ बेस इज BX आय एम गोइंग टू ड्रॉप अल्टिट्यूड फ्रॉम A आणि C, म्हणजे या BD लाईन वरच टाकतोय ना अल्टिट्यूड. म्हणजे ही ब्लू कलरची मी लाईन काढली आहे ही वाली, हीच आहे ना अल्टिट्यूड दोन्ही केसमध्ये. आता ती इक्वल काय आहे ह्याचं प्रूफ मी आत्ता करत नाही, पण बेसिकली इफ यू सी ट्रायंगल ABD आणि BCD कॉंग्रुएंट आहेत ना, मग ते कॉंग्रुएंट ट्रायंगल मधले हाईट आहेत ते, मग ते इक्वलच पाहिजे.
ओके सर.
Okay. Okay, then next question, question 9. So what is given is A alpha beta are the roots of that equation. Okay, आणि so I'm given two equations. First equation is this one, ज्याचे roots alpha beta आहेत, आणि so from this I can get some information, right? So the sum of the roots alpha plus beta will be P, and the product is Q. Right? So this is what I get from the first equation. And then there is one more equation ज्याचे रूट्स पण अल्फा आणि बीटाच्या टर्म्स मध्येच आहेत, राईट. सो द रूट्स ऑफ दीज आर ऑल्सो अल्फा, नॉट सो अल्फा divided by beta and beta divided by alpha. So now the sum of the roots in this case will be again equal to the middle term, so Q, and the product of the roots will be equal to P. But these are just reciprocals, no? So the product is going to be equal to 1. So therefore directly here I am going to get P is equal to 1. बरोबर. आणि मग if we want to use the other, the sum of these two, so we should simplify that. So alpha upon beta plus beta upon alpha is equal to Q, which is equal to, if I cross multiply, okay, alpha square plus beta square upon alpha beta. And now आपल्याला P equal to 1 मिळालेलं आहे. So I want to use that information, that alpha plus beta I know. So somehow I want to introduce alpha plus beta in this expression. So what I can do, I can complete the square on the numerator like this. And so therefore now instead of alpha plus beta, I can write 1. Correct? And so you see here, alpha beta term can also be replaced by Q. So now everything is in terms of Q. And so I can now solve and get the value of Q. But actually, mala Q ची value नको, I want Q plus 1 bracket square. So in fact, that is even simpler, because if I now take Q to the other side, I'm going to get Q square is equal to 1 minus 2Q. And therefore, I'm going to get Q square plus 2Q is equal to 1. And this is exactly what I wanted, right? So Q ची value turns out to be a little bit more complicated. This is square root 2 वगैरे येतो. But Q plus 1 square is just equal to 2. Okay. So you see how the same quadratic formula, like the sum of the roots and product of the roots, I'm using in the both the equations separately, and then combining the information. आणि कसं इकडची information तिथे transfer करणं. I got this information that P is equal to 1 from here. I transferred it onto this side. So like that, how the two equations are kind of supporting each other, and together it will, all the information is given to you.
So how P is 1?
So this on the right hand side, alpha upon beta. So the product of the roots is the constant term, right? P, and these are reciprocals, right? So they are just cancelling. Alpha alpha beta beta is cancelling.
Sir, can you explain that last step?
इकडची का मी
Yes,
आत्ता जे
sir.
बोललो ते इकडे काय केलं मी, इथे तर ह्या इन दिस फॉर्म्युला अल्फा प्लस बीटाच्या जागी तर मी 1 सबस्टिट्यूट केला, आणि इथे इथे अल्फा बीटा आहे तिथे क्यू आला, इकडे अल्फा बीटा आहे तिथे पण क्यू आला. सो नाव इन दिस इक्वेशन एव्हरीथिंग इज क्यू. So now if I just take Q to the, if I multiply both sides by Q, LHS will become q square equal to 1 minus 2q. आणि आय एम इंटरेस्टेड इन क्यू प्लस वन ब्रॅकेट स्क्वेअर ना, म्हणजे क्यू प्लस वन ब्रॅकेट स्क्वेअर म्हणजे काय, क्यू स्क्वेअर प्लस 2q प्लस 1. मग हे रिअरेंज करून हे असं मिळतं ना, क्यू स्क्वेअर प्लस 2q प्लस 1 इज इक्वल टू 2. सो माय आन्सर इज सिम्पली 2.
Yes, yes, sir.
ओके, म्हणजे डोंट इवन नीड टू फाइंड द व्हॅल्यू ऑफ क्यू. Okay, so one very important homework I would suggest for all of you is that आता तुम्ही already, this is our third paper of mathematics. We have already done 2 past papers and this is the third practice paper. So तुम्हाला already you are getting exposure to 30 problems. But if you can take this learning and try to create your own problem. आता honestly मी पण हे प्रॉब्लेम कसे करतो, जस्ट मनाला येईल तर ते तिथे व्हॅल्यूज टाकतो. म्हणजे मी इकडे काय खूप असा विचार करत नाही. आणि इथे अल्फा बीटा आहे तर म्हणून मी काय करत, चला अल्फा अपॉन बीटा आणि बीटा अपॉन अल्फा असं करून बघूया काय होतं. असं यू कॅन जस्ट प्ले विथ दीज व्हॅल्यूज. नाव लाईक टुमॉरो लेटस आहे, तुम्ही मला म्हटलं मला अजून एक प्रॅक्टिस पेपर पाहिजे, सो व्हॉट आय विल डू, आय विल जस्ट मॉडिफाय दिस प्रॉब्लेम स्लाइटली आणि मी असा काहीतरी प्रॉब्लेम बनवेन. आणि असा तुम्ही पण बनवायला ट्राय करा. म्हणजे मी असा काहीतरी प्रॉब्लेम टाकेन की लेटस से अल्फा बीटा आर द रूट्स ऑफ दिस इक्वेशन आणि आय विल एक्सचेंज दिस क्यू आणि पी. आणि नाव आय विल से इन्स्टेड ऑफ लेट से ह्याचे रूट्स आर, आता मी काय केलं अल्फा अपॉन बीटा केलं ना, तर आपण काय करूया, अल्फा स्क्वेअर प्लस बीटा स्क्वेअर इज वन रूट आणि अल्फा क्यूब प्लस बीटा क्यूब इज अनदर रूट, असं काहीतरी फॉर एक्झाम्पल. असं काहीतरी मी म्हटलं दीज आर द रूट्स ऑफ दिस आणि आता सॉल्व. तर नाव यू सी दॅट समटाइम्स इट विल बी व्हॅलिड सोल्युशन, कधीतरी काहीतरी नॉनसेन्स पण येतं, पण असं ट्राय केल्याशिवाय काही येत नाही. मला पण काय असे कोणी हे गिफ्ट नाही दिले ना की मला ऑटोमॅटिकली सुचतं करेक्ट चांगला प्रॉब्लेम कुठला आहे. विथ सम ट्रायल अँड एरर ओनली आय गेट दिस प्रॉब्लेम. So in the same way, you can create your own problems and practice them. That is what is going to become, make you a better student. So do all of these problem solving tricks on your own. बघा ह्यांनी काय होतं, सपोज हे दोन ह्याचे रूट्स असतील तर मग पुढे काय होतं तुम्ही बघा. ओके, सो ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स आर गोइंग टू हेल्प यू टू बिकम अ बेटर स्टुडंट. ओके, लास्ट क्वेश्चन. Again a 3D geometry question. Anybody solve this question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 minute. सांग काय करायचं.
तर एरिया ऑफ ट्रायंगल बीडीसी आपल्याला 50 दिलाय.
बरोबर आहे.
मग आपण आणि BC ची लेंथ 10 आहे.
बरोबर.
मग आपण हाईट काढू शकतो, मग हाईट पण 10 येणार BCD ची डी
बरोबर.
पासून.
बरोबर.
आणि मग ही हाईट BC ला परपेंडिक्युलर बायसेक्टर असणार.
बरोबर आहे.
मग त्याच्यावरून आपण DB बरोबर 5√5 येणार पायथागोरस थेरम अप्लाय करून.
डीबी येतोय 5√5. ओके.
हा, मग आपल्याला AB दिलाय 10. मग आपण परत अगेन पायथागोरस थेरम वापरून DA
हा.
आपण काढू शकतो. मग तीच हाईट ऑफ प्रिझम असणार आहे 5.
बरोबर. येस, करेक्ट. येस. अजून एक मेथड असं पण करता येईल की केडी आपल्याला 10 मिळाला अँड द बेस इज अन इक्वेलेटेड ट्रायंगल, राईट. सो बेसचा हा जो के आहे, जो बीसीचा मिड पॉइंट आहे, तर आपल्याला AK पण काढता येईल ना. म्हणजे ट्रायंगल AKD मध्ये पण पायथागोरस वापरून डायरेक्ट काढता येईल, म्हणजे बीडी काढायची गरज नाही. तसंही करता येईल. बरोबर. Okay, so again just to repeat the process, so we have what is the information given to us. The firstly the bottom and top faces are both equilateral triangles of length 10, correct. And we know this has a tirka triangle, this slanted triangle BCD, we know its area and we know the base, right. So if I drop the altitude from D onto the BC, and so it will be the midpoint of BC, correct. So I'm going to get area of BCD is half into the base into height, and that is 50. Okay, so therefore you see that decay will be 10. Okay, so we found the length of decay, and I am interested in the height of my prism. म्हणजे मला AD काढायची, right? So I need to find some Pythagoras like triangle, right angle triangle, ज्याच्यामध्ये AD पण इन्व्हॉल्ड आहे आणि some other length. So आता हर्षदनी सांगितलं तसं you can either find BD and then do Pythagoras in triangle ABD, or alternately if you look at triangle AKD, right? So in triangle AKD or ADK, I can directly write AD square is equal to the hypotenuse AKD square minus AK square. Okay, and ह्याच्यामध्ये AK पण आपल्याला माहिती आहे. Why? Because AK is the, remember, the base ABCs are equilateral triangle. आता आपण साइडनी बघतोय म्हणून तो equilateral दिसत नाही. But if I look at the diagram from the top, then ABC equilateral आहे, बरोबर? So therefore त्याची height आपल्याला काढता येते already. So this is just going to be √3/2 times the side, का? Because this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So therefore AK is nothing but √3/2 times 10, which is √3 into 5. So I can just substitute that directly and get AD square is equal to 100 minus 75. So therefore AD is 5. So in other words, actually AD is 5, which is exactly half of the base. म्हणजे AD हा त्या प्रिझमच्या हाफ हाईटचा आहे असं म्हणू शकतो, की जेवढा बेस आहे AB त्याच्या हाफ लेंथची AD आहे. Exactly that, in that situation this BCD will become 50. Okay, so this was the last problem. Any doubts so far, or any other question which we have not covered you want to discuss? We have still 10-15 minutes. Yes, Prasanna.
सर सिक्वेन्स वर एखादी अजून दुसरा क्वेश्चन घेऊ शकतात का?
Okay, sequences. So बघूया आता कसं करायचं कन्स्ट्रक्ट सिक्वेन्सेस वर एखादा क्वेश्चन. Yes, Atharva.
So actually, I used another method for question number 7.
Okay.
So
Yes,
what I did
go
was
ahead.
I compared the equation with x minus 5's whole cube,
Okay.
and then from there I got the value of p and q directly.
Yes, correct. So yeah, in the objective exam like this, where only the final answer matters, your method is correct. But if you, this same question was a long form question, we have to justify why that is the only possibility and no other possibility can be there, then you will have to give some more explanation. But yes, what you suggested is a valid method. Yes,
Okay,
Harshvardhan.
sir. I was just doubtful about that.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, luckily because the question is arranged in such a way that ABC are equal, त्याच्यामुळे the x minus 5 cube is exactly correct. But otherwise, in other different situation, it might not work that way. म्हणजे आता जस्ट एक छोटंसं मॉडिफिकेशन लाईक हिअर बिकॉज आय वॉन्टेड टू मेक द प्रॉब्लेम व्हेरी सिम्पल म्हणून मी ABC चे कोएफिशियंट बदलले नाही. बट जस्ट टू शो यू की हाऊ आय कॅन मॉडिफाय दिस क्वेश्चन टू मेक इट स्लाइटली डिफिकल्ट. तर मी असं करू शकतो की मला काय करायचंय, सपोज माझ्याकडे 3A 2B आणि C हे 3 टर्म्स मी इक्वल असं. सो यू सी हाऊ आय विल स्टार्ट कन्स्ट्रक्टिंग द क्वेश्चन. लेट मी शो यू. मला असं करायचं की मला 3A 2B आणि C इक्वल पाहिजे. ओके, that is the hint that this I want to hide. I don't want to give this information directly to the student. So मी काय करीन, I want to create the situation where 3A cube plus 2B cube plus C cube has to be equal to 3 times their product. असं मला पाहिजे, बरोबर. सो म्हणून मी काय करणार, म्हणजे ही व्हॅल्यू मी देईन. म्हणजे ह्याच्यातलं कॉन्स्टंट काढले तर काय होतं 18 ABC ना. So I will give you the value of ABC and I will give you the value of this expression. Okay. आणि देन फ्रॉम दॅट वी हॅव टू फाइंड की बाकीचं क्वेश्चन फॉर एक्झाम्पल म्हणजे असे मी आय कॅन मेक स्मॉल ऍडजस्टमेंट टू मेक द प्रॉब्लेम लिटिल बिट हार्डर. So you should be attentive to this adjustment. So if that happens, then now A, B, C are the roots are not necessarily equal. So if you compare it to a cubic, you will not get the right answer. So whenever you make such apply such shortcuts, you have to be careful that they because the examiner is always sitting there to trap you. Yes. Anyways, Harshvardhan.
Sir, uh, as there are 9 minutes left, so can you tell us the how is there the selection process of MPI?
See, so because I am not teaching there directly, I don't have much information. See what is the process, but in general, from what I know is that there is a rank-based cutoff. So maybe they will take the top 15 students or 20 students, and score-based cutoff also. So you have to clear their cutoff, like marks cutoff, and you have to be in the top merit list, like whatever the top, maybe top 15, for example. मला माहित नाही आता. So हे दोन्ही क्रायटेरिया क्लिअर केले तरच तुम्ही सिलेक्ट होता. आता एक्झॅक्टली मार्क्स किती लागतात आणि टॉप किती मुलं निवडतात हे गोष्टी मलाच माहिती नाही.
सर
आणि
मॅथ्स
इनफॅक्ट
5 पेक्षा जास्त बरोबर लागतात का?
मला आय थिंक सो तसं मी पण ऐकलंय, पण मी गॅरंटी मी काय म्हणेन की हाऊ डज इट मॅटर, तुम्हाला तुमचं बेस्ट करायचं. सो 5 असतील का 4 असतील का 6 असतील, आपल्याला आपलं बेस्ट करायचं एवढंच लक्षात ठेवायचं. ओके, सो आय ऑनेस्टली डोंट नो व्हॉट इज द कट ऑफ. इफ यू आस्क मी जेईचा पॅटर्न कसा असतो की जेई ऍक्च्युअल जेई एक्झाम मध्ये पण प्रत्येक सब्जेक्ट वाईज कट ऑफ असतो, म्हणजे फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री मॅथमॅटिक्स तिन्हीचा सेपरेट कट ऑफ असतो ऍक्च्युअली. सो मे बी दिस एक्झाम ऑल्सो यू अज्युम दॅट समथिंग सिमिलर इज ऍप्लिकेबल. येस, एनिथिंग एल्स?
Sir, I had a question.
हा, येस, गो अहेड.
Sir, yesterday I told you about one maths question from the January 2022 paper.
हा हा, येस, ओके.
I downloaded the PDF of the question paper as well as the answer paper.
ओके.
Both of them, the answer given is different, and I am also having problem in solving it.
जानेवारी 2022, ओके. बघूया आता ह्याच पेपरमध्ये अजून कोणाला तरी सिक्वेन्सेसचा प्रॉब्लेम हा होता ना, लकीली ह्याच्यामध्ये असेल तर आपलं काम. ओके, विच क्वेश्चन आर यू इंटरेस्टेड टू फाइंड?
January 2022.
हा, I opened that
Question
paper.
25, 25th. 25th
Okay.
one.
This ABCD is a square, that question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, let me give it a try. So ABCD is a square with side 30. ते त्यांच्या ऑफिशियल आन्सर की मध्ये काय मिस्टेक असेल तर मला माहित नाही, बट लेट अस सॉल्व द क्वेश्चन आवर सेल्फ. Okay, P is on AB, such that AP upon PB is 2:1. So here right away, because we know the side length, we in fact know the length of the AP and PB. So that is not a secret. We know 20 and 10. And if Q is on BC such that BQ upon QC is 1/2. So again, we know the length. Okay. That information which is given in terms of ratio, we can directly convert into length. Correct. And now AC intersects DP. So AC is the diagonal of my square. And PQ at. Okay, so these points are S and R. Okay, and I am supposed to find the area of PQRS. Okay. Okay. So let me solve this question in a sort of student mode. That suppose I'm giving the exam, so I want to get the answer as quickly as possible. Okay, so I don't care about proof or anything. I just apply my intuition and get the right answer quickly. So what my intuition tells me is that this symmetry, that if I look at this axis along which everything is symmetric, then PQ and RS have to be parallel. Therefore, this PQRS is a trapezium, correct? So I just need to find the opposite sides and the height. right? If I find these three quantities, so if I find the value of PQ, RS, and the height, then that will give me the answer. So let us see. Out of that, PQ is very simple because हा तर 45, 45, 90 triangle आहे. So PQ is just 10 times root 2. बरोबर. RS कडे येऊया आपण. हाईट काढता येते का? तर हाईट पण सोपी असावी, कारण इफ आय जॉईन दिस टू द, हा जो पॉइंट आहे विच इज द सेंटर ऑफ माय स्क्वेअर, तर ओबी मला काढता येतो. बरोबर. ओबी का काढता येईल? बिकॉज एबी ची लेंथ 30 आहे आणि एओबी पण 45, 40, 90 ट्रायंगल, राईट? सो देअरफॉर ओबी इज द एबी अपॉन रूट 2. सो ओबी ची लेंथ एवढी आहे आणि हा पॉइंट टी म्हटला, तर बीटी पण माहिती आहे ना, कारण बीटी ह्या छोट्या ट्रायंगल मधली हाईट. सो ओबी ची लेंथ एवढी आहे आणि बीटी ची लेंथ is 10 upon root 2. So if I subtract the two, I will get the height, right? The height is OT will be 30 minus 10, so 20 by root. Okay, so I found the height. So तीन पैकी दोन गोष्टी तर मिळाल्या, PQ मिळाला, H मिळाला. आता RS बाकी आहे, right? I want to find the length of RS. Okay. So now to find RS, काय करता येईल बरे? I observe whether this will be useful or not, I don't know, but PQ आणि इथे बेसिक प्रपोर्शनॅलिटी थेरम टाइप काहीतरी वापरता येईल ना, म्हणजे मला DSP ह्या 3 पॉइंटचा रेशो कळला, तर त्या रेशोच्या हिशोबाने RS आणि PQ मध्ये काहीतरी रेशो असणार. सो इफ आय फाइंड DS अपॉन DP वगैरे, सो लेट अस से DS अपॉन DP काढता येतो का? लेट अस सी. तर ते काढायला काय लागेल? तर आय नो दिस लेंथ इज ऑल्सो 30 आणि हा अँगल 45 डिग्री. So see, what I can do is this. If I drop, let me use a different color. S वरनं मी सपोज ही परपेंडिक्युलर काढली. ओके. सो या पॉइंटला काहीतरी अजून एक नाव दिलं के. तर इथे काय होणार आहे, हा 45 डिग्री असल्यामुळे हा दिस इज गोइंग टू बी 45, 45, 90 ट्रायंगल. बरोबर. आणि आय हॅव म्हणजे मला हा ट्रायंगल आणि APAD हे सिमिलर ट्रायंगल्स वापरायचे. ओके. आय वॉन्ट टू यूज द सिमिलॅरिटी ऑफ PAD and SKD. Oh no, wait, I made a mistake. This angle is not 45. इकडचा वरचा अँगल 45. हा अँगल 45 ना, म्हणजे सो what I can use is, if I call this point K, then I know AK is equal to KS. So त्याच्याने काहीतरी मिळेल मला. सो त्या AK आणि KS ची जी लेंथ मला माहित नाही, त्याला मी सपोज X म्हटलं. ओके. देन a triangle DKS similar to triangle DAP. बरोबर. DKS आणि DAP. So by basic proportionality, I can equate DK upon KS or DK upon DA is equal to KS upon AP. बरोबर. आणि आता इकडे I can solve this to get the value of X. बरोबर. So DK is what? 30 minus X. हा माझा X आहे, तर DK is 30 minus X. So this is 30 minus X upon 30 and KS is X upon 20. So I can solve and get the value of X. बरोबर. So I'm going to get 600 minus 20X. So therefore I'm going to get 50X is equal to 600. So X is 12. Okay. So म्हणजे मला X ही लेंथ 12 मिळाली. And so now you see I have, मला जो DS upon DP रेशो हवा होता तोच हाच आहे ना. 12 upon 20. 12 upon 20. आणि दॅट सेम रेशो विल बी ऑल्सो म्हणजे SR आणि PQ मधला रेशो पण तेवढाच असणार आहे. अगेन आय एम नॉट आय मीन द सॉल्विंग मोड, मला सगळ्या गोष्टीचे प्रूफ नाही द्यायचे तिकडे, बट in a proper exam we will have to give proofs of everything, but right now just assuming that we are interested in just calculation, so I can write PQ upon RS is 20 upon 12, so therefore RS will be PQ into 12 20 by 12 म्हणजेच 4 कॅन्सल करून 5 by 3, correct? आणि PQ आपण मगाशी काढला होता. So now I have all the parts, right? So I can write area of PQRS will be half into height. Height किती होती आपली h ना, एवढी 20 by root 2 into sum of the parallel sides. So PQ plus RS. So RS is PQ into 5 by 3. Okay. आता मी कॅल्क्युलेशन एवढे फास्ट केले की मे बी आय मेड सम कॅल्क्युलेशन मिस्टेक, बट लेट अस होप नॉट. ऍक्च्युअली हा डिनॉमिनेटर मधला 3 आहे तो कोणाकडे कॅन्सलच नाही होणार ना. At least my first guess is either I made some calculation mistake or there is genuinely some mistake in the problem. तर मला तरी वाटतंय आता, पण बघूया पुढे काय होतंय. So the square root 2 will cancel. Half आणि 20 cancel झालं. So I'm going to get 10 plus 10 into 5 by 3. So my answer is coming as 800 by 3, which is the area of PQRS. आणि त्यांचं आन्सर काय आहे, 25 चा आन्सर आहे 320. So their answer is 320 and my answer is 800 by 3, which is roughly equal, but obviously there is some gap here. So I don't know, maybe I made some calculation mistake, but at least method I hope तुला कळली.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, but anyway we are out of time. Actually कोणातरी सिक्वेन्सेसचं गणित होतं ना, मी जरा विचार करून एखादं गणित आपल्या व्हॉट्सअप ग्रुपवर टाकतो. Okay, but I think that is all that we wanted to cover. Again, thanks everybody for joining this course. I hope you learned something.
Sir,
Yes.
can you send the answer key of today's maths practice
हो
questions?
हो
on
हो
group?
मी पाठवतो आणि त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्हाला एक दोन लाईनचे हिंट पण आहेत प्रत्येक गणितासाठी.
Oh yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so all the best everybody for the exam, and
Thank you, sir.
yeah, we will talk again maybe after a few more days. Okay, thank you, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, bye.